Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our program, our weekly program. Today, Dr. Tang Yuk, Dr. Richard Tang Yuk, and myself have been joined on air with Mr. Abraham. Mr. Abraham is a representative of St. Margaret's Superstar Steel Orchestra. Um, St. Margaret's Superstar Steel Orchestra, is competing at the small band level of this year's Panorama festivities. And they are joining us on air today just to share a little about the band, its history, and its music. Good afternoon, Mr. Abraham. Thank
Good
you for
afternoon.
thank you for taking the time to join us and to share your afternoon with us. Your time is precious, and we appreciate the efforts you're making. So
Okay.
tell us something. Tell us something about St. Margaret's Superstar Steel Orchestra. Where did the band find itself in terms of what are the germinal beginnings
Well,
of your organization?
okay. The organization was founded in 2009. That is St. Margaret Superstars. But it was born out of the St. Margaret School primary school that started, and they were very dominant in Panorama for about out of the 13 years that I can recall, they won it like 11 times, right? Mrs. Abraham, she founded that in the St. Margaret School. But what happened is that these kids were so good and they wanted to stay together, and we wanted them to stay as a community. So it went on now into St. Margaret's Youth Steel Orchestra. Again, that was a very dominant youth band. They won the Shakonia Gold, National Shakonia Gold. They have won Ellis Clark Awards. They took part in Carnegie, and they were very successful. But youth bands have an age limit of 21. So now, after 21, everybody wanted to stay together. So that is how St. Margaret's Superstars was formed, so that we could keep the youth together, keep the community together. First, it started off with boys, then it was opened up to girls, and then it went on to the community and outside of the community, because um, we wanted to see what we can do as a social program to keep the youth off the streets, teach them music, give them careers, and most importantly, the band was so successful in previous categories. We just felt that we could do something for the children, and that is how the St. Margaret Superstars was born.
Dr. Tangyok, I know you would have some questions in relation to what was just said.
Sure. Good afternoon, Mr. Abram. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. So, we have a wide viewing audience, and I'm sure many people out there have no idea what it takes to start a band. So, if you could just talk in general terms, I know you mentioned that your wife, Rosemary Abraham, started this band at the St. Margaret School, and then it grew from one accolade to another. But could you put in your own words for our listeners, what does it take to start a band and to maintain a band year after year?
Well, first of all, I can tell you this is the love for children and the love to see them succeed in life. I think that's where it all started. She decided through this a SIP program that the government had given to primary schools of any project that they wanted to go into. And she decided to use steel band as an instrument to bring the children together at the school. And but as I said, it has to do with the love for the children and the careers. And then when you grow up in what they classify high risk areas, you know that if you put in the work and these children are successful, then the whole community will be successful. So that idea, or that to me is where it all started. All right. After that, success, due to success and hard work, encourage you to go further. So as I said, in the first 13 years, the first year they came second. And that was like the first 6 months of the band. After that, out of 11, out of 12 years, they won. And it meant that the band was not an ordinary band. She started PAN program right through the school. It had the backing of the school and the St. Margaret's Church, because St. Margaret's Church also plays a part in it, of the children's life in St. Margaret's. So again, I think due to success is what caused us to keep growing, and then we keep raising the bar. After the school, as I said, we went on to youth band when those children were ready to leave school, and success again followed. Won many festival categories. We went to Carnegie. We were the second state band to ever played in Carnegie. We dominate the performance there. We have been to LA. We dominate the performance there. We have been to Orlando. We have represent Trinidad. I think it's Carifta. Is it 17 or 16 or something like that? We represented Trinidad. We represented Trinidad in Guadeloupe. So what you find is that when you have all this success, you are motivated. And the youths now become motivated because now they actually seeing the rewards for their hard work, right? So it was easy now to go into the superstars now to take part into what we call the big men category. So we now are trying, but we have some challenges there, because once they reach in that big boys level, finance become an issue. So, but we still motivated. Like the previous categories, we want to dominate, and we intend to put St. Margaret's, the Belmont community, and the wider community with the youths. We intend for them to be successful. So that is our motivation.
That's great, and congratulations on all your successes thus far. It's wonderful to hear. So I want to talk a little bit about what you mentioned. You know, the band has traveled and performed at Carnegie in LA and Orlando. So how did your band, tell us a little bit about that Carnegie performance? How was it arranged? How was it financed? Because I imagine that must have been a major, hurdle to find the financing. Was it that the band St. Margaret's was being presented exclusively on a concert at Carnegie, or was it in conjunction with other organizations?
It was in conjunction with other organizations taking part. It was a musical competition that you have to qualify for in order to take part in that competition. Now, this is a very strange story, and I know I have some very shy persons who love the band, and they don't like their name being called. But first of all, I will be very, very straight with this. The trip to Carnegie cost $750,000 to go to Carnegie. Right? First, we have to audition, and they were impressed with the audition. And with that, we were invited to take part in I believe it's the USA Music Festival. So with that, we decided that we're going to try through parents, fundraisers, somehow to make that money appear. One day, a very high person in Trinidad and Tobago, well, every year we do put on something called an extravaganza with youth bands, because we also try to challenge other youth bands to raise their level. So every year we usually had that. And the gentleman and his wife was walking through the savannah by the grandstand, heard pan playing, decided to come in, and then he heard about St. Margaret's ambitious plan to go to Carnegie. Then he heard how the parents sacrificing and what they were doing in order to try to make the money. And one day I just received a call. He said he spoke to certain people and they were willing to help the band. And Methanol Trinidad Limited came on board and financed the whole trip to Carnegie. And since then, over a few years, Methanol has assisted the band up to this year where we went to Orlando. So we get assistance wonderful when we do these overseas trips.
Right, but it's kind of surreptitious that that person happened to be around in the savannah when you were playing. I mean, there's
Yes.
a bit of luck there. Yeah.
Yes.
So, and I'm sure the members of the band will never forget that experience at Carnegie and at Orlando and LA. You know?
Well, as I said, we bring a high level of performance and professionalism. And when people see St. Margaret's and they know what St. Margaret's is about, what they stand for, and the quality, right? I think I checked last Panorama, and there were either 6 or 7 persons out of the St. Margaret's program that arranged for Panorama 2024 for bands, because we do, we do a lot musically. A lot of our kids go on to UTT, universities away. We open doors, and we try our best to see what we can do to help the society and to help these young ones.
That's wonderful. Can you just tell us what is the age range of the members of St. Margaret's Superstars?
Well, they will range, I will believe, from around 14, 15, because we have members of the youth band in it. We have the past pupils who will be in their 20s, and a lot of persons from past who support St. Margaret's from other bands. They come and play with us for the small band category. But I will believe our average age is anywhere our age span is anywhere between 15 to possibly about 26, 28. We are very young band.
Allow me to ask this. I know with a steel band, regardless of the category, and given the fact that St. Margaret's has been around, though it's a fairly young band in terms of its gestation period, it's when it started to now. What's your general membership like in terms of players? And do you all have the hurdle to climb of having to trim the band, the players, the number of players down for the competition? What's it like with that?
I'll be very honest. Our economy in Trinidad and the challenges a lot of the youths face now. Now, I understand their challenges. You practice hard for about 2 months, 3 months preparing for Panorama, day in, day out, night, and at the end of the day, you walk away. Sometimes if your band didn't qualify, you might walk away with a $600 or $700, or if it band do reach the finals, you might walk away with a 2,000, 3,000 for the most, and you would have sacrificed 2.5 months and everything else. So now a lot of these young players, they don't have, they carry themselves around and play with multiple bands now. And that is understandable because of our economic situation. And understanding the hard work that they have to put in, and the rewards, to me, and I'll be honest, the rewards is not in line with the effort that they put out. So in our case, we don't have trouble making the maximum because we have a lot of people from bands who want to play with St. Margaret's in the category. Now we have people from our state side. We will provide from our state side and our past members. We maybe will have about 2/3 of the band in the St. Margaret's Superstars, being ex-St. Margaret's players, present St. Margaret's players, right? About 2/3. But we have many players from outside that come and play with us every year. And we have to kind of trim the fat by, we are not able to take all the persons who want to play with us,
Okay.
right?
When we accepted the semi-final performance, we're just simply looking at the scores. You total 271 points.
Yeah.
It's a 4-point gap to bridge with the band that plays first in the semi-final. To someone like myself, Dr. Tang Yuk is musically trained. I'm not. 4 points seems to be a small gap. How do you all prepare, and how has the preparations been going from last Saturday to now, projecting into Saturday's final, in terms of you trying to bridge the gap, trying to get the band to that point where you could get closer to first place or to move further up the scale?
All right. I am an analyst, okay? I look at it analytical. I am not a pan person. I've never played a pan in my life, right? So I look at things in a different view. 3 points, if a band beat you by 3 points, I look at it as only 1 point because it's 3 judges. So I look at it as I just have to gain 1 point, right?
Yeah.
On each judge. So if somebody have a little 4 point, that is just 1 1/3 point. Now, I will leave all the thing for Elijah, but what happened is this. We had a mishap in the preliminaries where we were penalized for playing 23 seconds overtime, right? It was a bad misstep. It would have put us joint first in the preliminaries, but we were penalized. And we went down to either 12th or 14th because of the deduction. Now, we spend the period between the results and the semis reducing the tune for it to fall under the required time. So we didn't get time to do much with the tune. While other bands would have been doing things to improve, we were looking to try to get within the estimated time, which about the time given, which is 8. So we know we didn't do much with the tune, and we just tried to execute, but we didn't do much to create. So now, between the semifinals and the finals, this is where Elijah and Sheldon Peters will now collectively see what creativity they could come up to get over that 1 1/3 hurdle. But remember the other bands doing the same. So I am really looking forward to try and get possibly a 3-point jump from each judge.
You know, Mr. Abraham, as we're talking about scoring, let me ask you this question, because in the semis, if I'm looking at the marks here, the two bands are tied for third place ahead of St. Margaret's, only had 1 point more.
1 point, yes.
And 1 point. And you St. Margaret's tied with Uptown Fascinators. And
Right.
then the two bands that followed you in the marking was just 1 point away. So
yeah,
how do you feel about such a narrow spread in the marking? Is it really that close? It's just a question. No, I used to judge Panorama, so I have my thoughts about it, but I want to hear what you think.
Okay. Yes, it is that close because everybody obviously want to win. Everybody will listen. Go through the judges' remarks, and based on their remarks, they will make the necessary adjustments.
Okay, but
right?
I'm not talking. Okay, but I'm not. Hang on a second. I'm not talking about the band's reaction to the marks. I'm talking about the marking as it came to the band from a particular round of the competition. How is it possible that so many bands in this category could tie? Is it really that close?
I listened to the semifinals. I was not in Trinidad for the preliminaries, but I was there for the semifinals. And to be honest, I found the quality to be exceptional. I think that category really upped its game. And I think the points are justified, and it would be that close. Right? I think the judging was, I don't want to use the word fair because that sounds like opposite of fair is unfair. But what I'm saying is I think that bands really performed well, and it will be that close. And I think that the finals will be that close because the other years it was not close.
Okay. Dr. Tang Yuk, I believe Elisha is though we're not seeing him, he's there. Elisha, are you there? Could you lend your voice to what we're discussing here? He seems to be struggling a bit on his end, so we could continue with Mr. Abraham.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so, interesting to hear your feedback about the closeness of the marking. Personally, I don't think it should be that close. It doesn't mean that if band marks are not close, that the standard overall is not high. That's my opinion. So let's simplify it. If you say we're marking on a scale of 1 to 100, we could have a band that scores 90, that is excellent, and a band that scores 97, that is excellent as well. But I find it a little bit strange that so many bands tend to tie. Right now, I know that the system is that the judges have no idea what the other judges are scoring. So the aggregate score is tallied by a Pantry and Bigger official, and this is how it comes out. But, you know, we're scoring to certain criteria, right? The different categories, it's spelled out in the form, you know, so much for arrangement, dynamics, all these sort of things. So if one is listening critically, I don't feel that it should be that close. That's my personal opinion.
I would not challenge you on that because I am not musically literate. But however, as I said, you know, and I'm glad to talk to you as a judge. Where I sometimes, and a lot of bands had this problem, is when the markings of the judges are what we consider inconsistent. Like for instance, if a judge gave you one give you 85, one give you 60. You know, the disparity sometimes. Now, I didn't see other people own, but I know based on the 2 rounds that we had done, the judges' scores were kind of consistent within, you know, a 3 and 4 margin. But I can't tell you about the judging because I am not a judge, and I do not know what the judges, well, I know what they're supposed to be listening to, but they are the ones who have the ear for music, right? So I don't challenge them on that. But don't you think, like for instance, I would like to believe a lot of persons think like St. Margaret's. I knew that we were aiming at the preliminaries to score anywhere between 255 and 260. That was our goal, right? And a lot of these people like Elijah and Sheldon and all these kind of things, all these guys supposed to have gone through UTT, UV, they're supposed to be great at their profession. So then I knew that when the semifinals come, you may have to get up to about 271. So I would like to believe all those bands pull out that stuff, right? And I think to win, the band that's going to win is going to score something like 278. Right?
Okay.
Now,
But
if,
I'm
if
not.
everybody up the game, if everybody up the game, the numbers will make it very close.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, you could score a certain score in the prelims. You could do better because the band continues to practice. You could do better in the semis, so you get a higher score. And in the finals, everybody gets, it's expected. Everybody's going to improve. So let me draw an analogy. You know, we have something called the Trinidad and Tobago Music Festival every 2 years. It's a biennial festival that's been going for about 70 years now in Trinidad and Tobago. And there are multiple categories. There are categories for singers, pianists, violinists, saxophonists, every wind instrument, percussion, ensemble, duet, trio. I mean, it takes a whole month. And it brings together a lot of musicians in Trinidad and Tobago. And there are 3 zones like Panorama, North, South, and Tobago. Okay? So we hear preliminary rounds. We hear sometimes semifinals, depending on how many people in a category, and then finals. And then the winners of each zone in the finals compete in what they call the championships. So the marks do go up, not in all cases. Sometimes a competitor may not score higher in the championship division from how they scored in the finals. But I believe what you're saying. I absolutely believe that every single band in Panorama is trying to up their game and improve so they will get a higher score. My argument is that when I listen to music, so again, I'm going back to Music Festival, although I have judged Panorama for many years. If we have specific criteria against which we are marking, to me, it's actually not that close. So in some categories, I might hear 32 singers, and it's really not that close. So I just question. I could understand a 3-point spread, but not so many bands in one phase of the competition time. Now, I want to address something that you touched upon just now, and you phrased it as the inconsistency in the marking. Now, here's why that's an issue. Here's why. The inconsistency in the marking stems from no benchmark being set before the competition begins with the judges. So let's just say, you know, you're on a panel, right? You're on a panel and you've been asked to judge, and it's small category bands, and the first band plays. and you have to give a mark 1 to 100. After you hear the first band, you have to put down a score, and that sheet is taken away from you, right? And you don't know what other judges are giving. When you hear the second band, you now have to compare and contrast as a judge. Is this second band better or worse than the first band I heard? If it's better, you have to give them a higher score. So because there's no standardization, there's no benchmark established, every judge is judging on their own calibrated scale. Now, this was an issue too with the, could everybody mute because we're hearing a little bit extraneous noise until you're ready to speak. But I see Mr. Beckles is here, and I want to come to him in a second, but let me just finish this thought. So one of the things that I have suggested to Panther and Bega, I also suggested it to the Trinidad and Tobago Music Festival, is that what should happen is a session of the judges before the competition begins. And this is how I would suggest they proceed. In order to establish some kind of calibration for the scoring amongst the judges, we have the judges listen to a recording. They don't know what band they're listening to because the name of the band will sway their opinion. They listen to a recording and they sit in a room and say, okay, if we heard this band play this, what would we score it? Would this be 85? Would this be 83? And why? How many points would we give them for arrangement and why? How many points would we give them for rhythm? How many points for execution and so on and so forth? So everybody's on the same page. So now when we start the competition, there's an established benchmark amongst all the judges because we spent the time to establish that. Does that make sense? Mr. Beckles, good afternoon. What are your thoughts about all of that? I'd like to hear Mr. Beckles.
It do make sense because a lot of judges base arrangement on like popular arrangements, right? To be honest. So let me say like I youth like myself, you know, to good at the competition, so we're not gonna give a high mark. So let's give a benchmark. I wait till they hear that band. I give a higher mark. So I find it's really unfair to be judging like that. So I just said, you know, they should do a recording, like a pre-recording of the band, and judge the name of the band and the name of the arranger. I do agree with that procedure.
You're saying you don't agree with my idea of some kind
No, I
of
said
establishing.
I do agree. I do agree.
You do agree. Because, you know, here's the thing you mentioned just now, and this is an important point that I want to bring up for our listeners. You said some judges would favor, I think this is what you said, correct me if I'm wrong, they would favor if it is an arrangement of a song that they know. Is that what you said?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So if we the judges were sitting in a room to establish a benchmark, and one judge on the panel said, well, you know, I like this tune, I really like this tune, and I find it bring it a good vibe, and I know this tune, so I'm going to score them higher, I would challenge it, and I would say to that judge, there's nothing on the criteria that says we are giving marks for a piece that is well known. There's nothing. There's also, by contrast, there's nothing on the score sheet that says if you play a totally new composition that has had no airtime, there's nothing that says we should deduct marks. So how are you I'm saying this to my colleague, right? How do you justify giving a band more marks for arrangement because it's a piece that you know? So this is all about establishing a benchmark for judging. So everybody's on the same page when we start. Because I just think that if you go into it without a benchmark and the judges are not allowed to confer, which I think is a good idea, actually, then everybody's judging on their own scale. And as you know, the rule is the highest score and the lowest score are eliminated. So if I'm consistently judging high, all my scores are going to be eliminated, and vice versa for the person judging low, right? So what is the point of that person being on the panel? Their opinion is completely discarded. But so, do you want to add any comments to that, Mr. Beckles?
Well, I understand where you're coming from, to be honest. And I find, as a judge, it is fair because, like, for the person who is judging are giving high scores, they have a reason why they're giving high score, and they feel they started every single time they give a high score, and just feel like they're judging.
We didn't hear everything that you said, but I think we got the gist of it. I want to ask you a question. Let's move to arranging. Because so you're the ranger of St. Margaret's Superstars. What would you say
Just
to...
before you go, I just like to take a correction.
Mhm.
There is a joint arrangement between Elijah Beckles and Sheldon Peters.
Okay,
So they
great.
collaborate together. All right.
Okay, great. Thank you for that clarification. So, Mr. Beckles, for our listening audience out there, people, young pianists, musicians who may be interested, did we lose him?
We may have just done that, but I'm sure Mr. Abraham could assist.
Okay. Well, I wanted to ask about arranging. And the question was, for young people out there who are interested in arranging, who have never done it before, what would you say the skills are that are needed to arrange for a steel band?
Well, I am not, as I said, I am not musically literate. What I have learned a lot through my daughter, to be honest, musically. And I knew that when part of the St. Margaret's program, when persons like Elijah and a lot of them were coming through the system, she had always been interested in arranging. She was a great pianist, but she was always interested in arranging, and she always wanted the boys and them to develop musically. So from young, Elijah and all of them were given tasks, tips, training to do arranging. Elijah is back. So to me, it's a different skill, a skill set, and some people blessed with ideas, but transforming the ideas to maybe a score sheet, a sheet creativity, right? Elijah maybe will be able to tell you best, but I think that young people should be introduced to, because we did it in St. Margaret's, and then we see the fruits of all what is going on at this point in time. Elijah is back.
Right. So, Mr. Beckles, I'm glad you're back. So let me ask the question again. The question was really for you as a ranger, as one of the co-arrangers of the band with Mr. Peters. For our listening audience, there are probably some younger musicians out there who are interested in arranging, but they have never done it before. What are some of the skills that a young musician would need in order to arrange for a band?
All right. Second, most important thing is having a laptop. You need a laptop, to be honest, to score music. Uh, I wouldn't say you really need any musical background because it's a lot of arrangers don't have a musical background and they are doing great. But it will be good to have a musical background example, knowing your scales, knowing chord progressions and other stuff, those things are needed, to be honest. Also, it's all about your mentality. Mentality has an important thing to do with arranging, because sometimes you might, give up, and it does need that extra push and saying, I'll have to get it done, I have to get it done. So to have, a strong mentality, that's sometimes necessary in being an arranger. And to be honest, just be yourself. Just be yourself. To be honest, just be yourself. And you portray yourself through the music. And that's just what
Well,
I have to say.
okay, great. Thank you for that. And can I, as a follow-up to that question, when you arrange for your band, do you consider strengths and weaknesses of various sections when you arrange?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, can you give us
So,
an example?
alright, so basically, let me say, for example, for like in the background, sometimes the nose might be so too deep. So I might use the seconds to help, how to say, put more power and more range into the music, so that the judges can hear the conversations. So it
Right.
have a lot of
So
pros and cons.
right. So just to elucidate for our listening audience, what Mr. Beckles is talking about here is voicing and orchestration, that you would have another section of the band assist another section in order to bring out that line and make it prominent so it can be heard. So this is about orchestration.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Which notes are played by which section of the band in order to make the arrangement very clear to the listener. Um, what are your thoughts, Mr. Beckles, about marks in the panorama for innovation and creativity? Because currently there are no marks specifically awarded for innovation and creativity. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, that's a good question. To be honest, I wasn't expecting to. Well, based
So,
on
let me just elaborate a little bit on it. Let's say you, Elijah Beckles, come up with a novel idea. It has never been done in Panorama before. You've never heard it. None of your colleagues have done this, but you feel very strongly in your body, in your soul, this would be great to incorporate. But there are no specific marks in the criteria for something that deviates from the norm. Would you put it in anyway, or are you going to conform to the formula that is expected according to the criteria that's on the score sheet?
well, I wouldn't conform to be honest. I will use my musical ideas that I come with, and I will be confident and push it out there to make it know that this is my idea, and it will be new to the judges, and eventually, over the years, or you never know, the judges might like it at that instant. I'd be like, ooh, this is something I didn't hear before. Ooh, this is amazing, and I will really appreciate, you know, that they, how to say it, that they like my idea or condemn it, because I literally put a lot of hard work in that creativity.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that, because I am one for innovation and creativity. But we also have to consider the possibility that the judge may not understand on first hearing what the arranger has put down. If it doesn't conform to a traditional formula, you put down a new idea, you believe in it, the band is going to execute it well because you've taught it to them, but a particular judge may not understand what is happening here and why we're hearing something that is so different. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do agree
Okay.
because
So how? Go
because
ahead.
based on judges' criteria, half of the judges might say, "Yeah, I like this idea and this creativity," and then the next half say, "I really understand." So basically, I might have to tweak it so both of them can understand the idea. And now what I was saying, sometimes they might conform to the regular format, and which is and I find that is unfair, to be honest.
Right. Right. But of course, the arranger has no control over what the judges think. And every
Yeah.
judge is an individual, and part of this is subjective. Some people like certain things and some people don't. Um, yeah. When you do something innovative for your players, what is the general reaction? Let's say you come to the band and you put down something that you thought of, and it's very unusual. It's
Yeah.
not something that they were expecting. What is the general reaction from the members?
Well, a lot of anything I do in the panyard, they support me. So they'll be like, yeah, this is it. Or let me say, like, they want to tweak it and say, well, this will work. Because I always do listen to the players because they are playing music, and sometimes the idea may work. I'll be like, oh, this makes sense. This makes sense. But majority, all the music that I do for St. Margaret's or did for St. Margaret's, it was like, I'll just say the reception was well received. To be honest, everything was the energy was there. It was up there. So
Yeah,
they pushed
yeah,
me and feeling that energy from the band members. And this year it was really different. And I put my best in the music. And well, you can see based on the results, everything is going good so far.
yeah,
I must
yeah.
thank to the band
So,
members because without them,
yeah, so it sounds like your band members respect you tremendously, because if you come with a new idea and they say, yeah, yeah, this is going to work, I love it. Do you find sometimes when you um, introduce a new idea to them that is very difficult,
yeah.
are they going to keep with it and say, no, let's keep doing it, we'll get it? Or do they get frustrated, like, oh, this is so hard?
Well, no, they'll be like, don't worry, we will get it, we will get it. And
Don't
I,
worry, we'll get
to
it.
be honest, I don't think nervous. I'd be like, you sure? You sure? You know what? We change it. They say, keep it. Don't worry, keep it. We will
Yeah,
get it. We will get it. So it's
that's a
basically I
yeah,
just be against it, and they'll be like, no, keep it.
right. So that's a sign of tremendous respect and trust for you in your work. So congratulations. Because I know
Thanks.
some teams will say, oh gosh, this too hard, you have to change it before they try and try and try.
Yeah.
So congratulations. Fareed,
Thank you very much.
you're muted, Fareed.
It would be interesting to hear your response, Mr. Beckles. We had posed the question earlier to Mr. Abraham. You're going into Saturday's final having to bridge a 4 point gap. Um, you as the arranger, how do you propose treating with that 4 point gap between now and Saturday? Because whilst you may have a 4 point gap at the semi-final level to bridge, the other bands ahead of you, they may be stretching that in terms of they may be improving faster than you are. So
Yeah.
what's the challenge you have there? How do you propose to deal with that gap and the final preparations for Saturday?
Well, first we look at the judges' comments. We look at which let me say which area is common between the judges, and we work on that. To be honest, and I don't really see it as a challenge. I see it as a how to say a stepping block to victory. To be honest, so we go in and work on what we felt like was the problem at or were the problem at semis and work to suit, and we will climb and it's all about cooperation between the band members and the arrangers. And once everything is done, we will be victorious.
Let me ask you this, which is a contemporary question that I remember years ago Len Booksy Sharp said that he doesn't pay much attention to the comments made by judges. Because what if it is you listen to the comments, what you may find as an arranger is that you're performing on the final night and your arrangement was so impacted by the judges' comments that you're really playing what the judges want to hear as opposed to the material that you as the arranger wanted to present. How does that present a challenge to you? Do you feel that the judges' comments sufficiently impact on your mindset and your thinking behind the song that you find yourself changing to suit them? Or how do you keep true to what your original work is?
I do agree with what Dr. Len Muksishap said, because you may have an idea or you might do something that you know is going to be beneficial to the music on final night, and you might say, nah, that's not working. And sometimes you might go with the same music from prelims to semis, and you'll be like, prelims will say, Middles wasn't good, or it wasn't clear, and it came with the same music for semis, and they be like, yeah, music music for the middles was powerful. We hear every single line. I would be like, but I really didn't change anything. I kept the same thing. So how the comments on prelims different from semis. And so sometimes they might not listen to what the judges say, and they just say you go with God and you have faith in the music, and you just say this is the best I can do, and I know this going to be impactful in the finals, and you just go with it. To be honest, sometimes listening to the judges' comments might spoil the music or the momentum, because basically Carnival is like a spiritual thing, and they we added all those different, how to say, comments from the judges, and it might slow down the music and a lot of stuff. So I felt like all Paramount arrangement might change up the arrangement.
Yeah. Can I ask you, Mr. Becker, just tagging on to something you said? Um, when you read comments from judges, do you always pass on those comments to the members, or maybe you withhold certain comments and you don't tell the members what the judges said?
We read out the comments to the band members, and state, well, you guys know this was the problem, and the judges state this was the problem, so we know what to work on. Because sometimes you might know what is the problem as the band, and you may listen to the judges and say, well, yeah, this is the problem, this is the problem. We work together and we overcome that problem and make it into a positive one. So we work together and
What?
we work to suit.
Okay, but I would argue that the arranger knows the piece better than anyone, including the judges. And depending on the comment, you might think, as the arranger, well, this judge really didn't hear this accurately. And I'm just thinking of myself in your situation. I'm not sure I would read all the comments. I would filter comments. I would say, because I would guess that you, as the arranger, you already know what needs to be fixed. Even before you read a single comment from you know what needs to be fixed, what could have been better in terms of execution or whatever. Now, if they make a comment about the arrangement itself, then that's up to you to decide whether you want to adjust it or not adjust it according to your musical vision.
Understood.
Right? But I just think sometimes leaders, we have to filter the feedback as to what could help the band and what may not help the band. Because if there are negative comments, I'm not sure you want to share all those you as the leader need to know them, right? But I'm not sure you want to share all those comments with your team. Mr. Abraham, you're the leader of the band. What do you think? Do you always share all the feedback with your members?
Well, to be honest, we do, but what we and Elijah, who knows this, and the other ranger, what we look for sometimes is consistency, because when you go through the judge's comment, one particular judge may highlight certain things, two may be consistent in, two or three might be consistent, because you always get the alternate judge sheet also, and we look at where sometimes there are similarities, because one thing sometimes you have to be careful about, what one particular judge may not be impressed with, the others didn't comment on it negatively. So sometimes you have to know how you're going to balance it, because where do you say, I am going to do some of these corrections, right? Because let's say, I'm just using this as an example. Let's say two judges were impressed with your introduction. One judge may not be impressed with it, right? As a team, what then do you do with your introduction? Do you listen to that one particular judge because he might make certain comments that about it, or do you go with what the majority who didn't comment or who was positive? So we let the members know exactly these are what the judges' comments are, but I think the arrangers sit down as a team to say, well, okay, we agree with this, we agree with this, we disagree with that, and they move forward, right? Because and you will know, all the judges' comments are not normally in sync. In some cases,
There wouldn't be. There wouldn't be. It's too many people and
right?
different opinions. So, but so you made a very good point. So some people may like the introduction, some people may not comment about it at all. But do you find, in general, when judges make a criticism about something, do they offer some advice about how it could be improved, or do they just give you a criticism? In other words, let me give you an example. Let me elucidate, right? Let's say, so Mr. Beckel just said, well, so you just said a judge may not like the introduction. Are they going to say, for example, well, I think this introduction could have been improved if the second and third phrases were extended by 3 measures? Or, I think this introduction could have been improved if you varied the meter on that rhythmic motive. Or do they just say, I didn't like the introduction, it didn't capture me? Are they giving specific feedback to help you as the arranger consider, this is an interesting comment, let me think about this?
Elijah, you want to take that one?
Well, based on the past few years I arranged for, they do say where was the problem and where it could have been better, to be honest. But you as the arranger, you know what you want. So you might move to suit, to be honest.
Okay,
But
you're saying they say where the problem is. That's one issue. But
yeah.
are they offering a suggestion as to what could make it better? Or are they not offering a suggestion?
Yeah, they do suggest what could make it better. Like for instance, let me say we have a phrase and if felt like the phrase was too short, it might be like I felt like it should have a little more synchronization or dynamics. So, and we would be like, we try that to be like, it didn't really fit.
Right.
Yeah, they might just go back to the whole thing. And
Right.
they use it for the same semifinals and they could be like, ooh, I really do
They
like
liked it. They liked it the second time. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you as the arranger, then you will filter those suggestions and decide what you want to implement or what you want to ignore. Okay, great. That's good to know. Okay, Farid, I know we're out of time.
I want to thank both you gentlemen, Mr. Beckles and Mr. Abraham, for sharing the afternoon with us. We will invite you again. It's been great spending some time with you all and getting a feel for the band, for the music. To our listening audience this afternoon, we had no other than St. Margaret Superstars Steel Orchestra spending some time with us. We wish the band the very best in Saturday's final. And thank you for your time, Mr. Beckles. I know you're a young arranger, and part of the program is to give this sort of exposure to you so the public can hear your voice, hear your ideas. And as the time go by, I know that you'd mature as an arranger, and we look forward to hearing your name being called on the big stage as time passes. Thank you
Thank you.
so much. Enjoy evening.
Same to you.
And all the best,
Okay, thank
guys,
you.
for Saturday. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. What's up? Well, I was listening before.
Um, do you want to comment on any of those topics we were discussing? You don't have to, but if you have an opinion.
Before you answer, let me just make a small introduction because remember we recording, so they're gonna edit this whole talk out and then. So let me just say this small piece and then we go straight into his response, Dr. Tang Yuk. Good afternoon, everyone. This afternoon we have no other than Dr. Pelham Goddard spending some time with us. Dr. Goddard, it's wonderful to see you. It's always good to hear your input, given that you're a seasoned arranger and seasoned musician and a senior citizen in the music. Thank you for
Thank you. It's your pleasure.
so we have Dr. Tang Yuk
Yeah,
with us. We have Dr. Tang Yuk with us. We know that you were
yeah,
tuning into the earlier part of our program. It will be interesting to hear
yeah.
some of your views. Dr. Tang Yuk, Dr. Goddard's in your
Miss
hand.
Dr. Goddard, such a pleasure to speak with
Yeah.
you. Thank you so much for making the time.
Amen.
Great honor. So, you've been involved in this industry for your whole life and with great success. So,
Yeah, thank
as a you know a stalwart aficionado of this industry, I want to start with a question, which is sort of like zooming out 30,000-foot view of the pan industry currently as it is. I'm sure you've seen a lot of changes over the years, some good, maybe some not so good. If you had to highlight 2 or 3 things that you think we need to pay attention to or put more effort to develop the pan industry, what would they be?
Well, I have seen. I know well from before. I know where Pan came from and all that. Because I used to go and see them tuning the Pan from the old or drum and whatever. Right. So to me, it come a long way from. Um, I was not wrong in 1930s, but I born in 1946. And from about the late 50s into 60s and so on, I see it develop into what of a growth that people improve year by year, day by day, decade by decade, improving on the song and all that, okay? And what I'm seeing right now, the tonal quality that we have right now in the instrument is something to behold. It come. I know it come a long way, and it reached because we have perfect tonal quality now. You know, long time. When I started here in Pan, like notes used to go to tune very often. The tuners had to come and blend plenty times. They had to blend over the pans and all that. A matter of fact, like For instance, Carnival Day, when a band go in town and come back in Woodbrook, they had to blend the band before they go back in town in the evening, Monday evening. And then they had to blend them again for Tuesday to go in town. Then they want to come out last lap. They touch up some pans again to come out lunch last lap. But now the pans and they hold a little more. Tuners know how to get all the partials and harmonics and thing together to keep the song and all that. So that is one, that is, I feel good about how the tonal quality have reached worldwide right now.
Just
The
as
instrument as a,
before you go on,
huh?
sorry, sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt you. Before you go on, just for the knowledge of our listening audience, can you explain to the layperson what affects the tuning of the pan? Because you talked about how, they need to touch up these pans if they have to play in the afternoon. What affects the tuning of the pan? I
Right.
don't think many of our listeners are aware of it.
All right. Instruments are tuned with harmonics in it, right? Like on a piano, like you have um 256 vibration to the note, and you have like the A above that, you'll have 440 vibration to the engine. To get those notes accurately in tune, you have what they call partials to blend all these harmonics into the instrument. So the harmonics will have like if it's a C, you will hear like a third and a fifth and the octave above it, and in and surround the note, right? So it keeps the note in shape, right? And they have a way, tuners have a way of tightening all inside where the notes are grooved, at the side of the grooves, they tighten up all that space. So no foreign tones will come to affect the note, right? All of that they do. And I know long time I used to see band tuners tuning with a tuning fork, or they might go with a little melodica and blow the note. But now the technology is helping them with the sense of a strobe, where they can get accurately the note in a strobe light, like you see where it stay one way, like it's just like tuning a guitar or a bass. They will put the string to the bass, and when they put on A, it will stay at A440 or whatever, you know.
Right.
So
So
that is
if I
what
could
tuning
just
is.
right. So if I could just elaborate on that for our listening audience, because this was a bit technical. I completely understand what you're saying. So I'm going to break it down for the listener, the layperson out there. So when Dr. Goddard is talking about partials, he is discussing the phenomenon, physical phenomenon of sound. When you play a note, it
Right.
doesn't matter what instrument you play on, you get what we call in physics sympathetic vibration. So you might play a C, but you're
Right.
getting a little bit of a C octave above, you're getting a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
the G, a fifth above that,
The
and you're
fifth.
getting
Right.
above that another C, and then you're getting above that a D. So these are what we call sympathetic
Yeah, like that a
vibrations, which
third.
are
Yeah.
right. And the third, we're getting very small gradations of other notes from one note. And
Yeah.
this is called the
Mm-hmm.
overtone series. And it happens in every
Right.
instrument, pan, piano,
Every
bass,
instrument.
guitar, including voice. And the acoustic of the space
Yeah.
enhances or detracts from these partials that Dr. Goddard was talking about. So this is why it's so important that the instrument is perfectly tuned, because when it's well tuned,
Right.
all these partials line up and you get this, I call it a halo. It's like a sound halo around the sound. that is so
Mm-hmm.
spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry to
And
interrupt you, but I just want to
and that is
explain
what
that
make
because
our pan so
yeah,
yeah, thanks, thanks. That is what make our instrument, it's wonder the world in a kind of way. So because to take a discarded oil drum and do that kind of phenomenal tuning, you know what I mean? And but now the next thing about pan too is that they making drums for tuning the pan. So you'd rather go and look for SO drums now again. You know, the drums are made and set for the tuning of the pans. In
right,
some cases, people use sheeting, steel sheeting, and shape it. A matter of fact, Tony Williams was doing that, or Tony Williams from Pan Am North Stars. He did introduce that and put rims to it where we could make a drum then for the pan. And then it went to Van Leer and all these kind of companies making drums for pans. So we don't have to wait until we discard an oil drum or some kind of domestic situation like grease or anything like that in a drum and work it, you know. So that is where I see in pan is now. Musically, well, I heard some small bands play Saturday night, and I see a big improvement of musical ideas into this instrument. And people graduate and thing and the music and all that, and they want to try out new things. And they get into, they're very successful in doing that. Um, One thing I heard you ask Mr. Beckles that if somebody want to get into to arranging. Now arranging is something um you might be a good player, okay? A fellow is a good instrumentalist. Let's say Miles Davis. But if Miles Davis want to make a record, he will go to Bill Evans or somebody to arrange his album for him. You know? So when you want to do arranging or as a musician, you have to start knowing all the range of the instruments that you are going to arrange on. So you want to be a pan arranger, you have to know what type of instrument this band have. You might have six bass. Where the six bass start from? All right, the last note on the six bass is B flat. Um, I want to use a treble guitar. The last note on the treble guitar should start from maybe let's go with a C sharp. A tricello might be C. Second pan might be low F sharp, and then for the range of these instruments, what's the highest note on you could get on a second pan? What's the highest note I could get on this instrument? And you start to arrange a tune because long ago on pan, if they want to play a sparrow tune, we young and strong, we ain't afraid of soul into. The pan used to have to transpose to get power tuned properly because how Sparrow was singing, the pan might not be notes, you know. But now, as I say about these pans, these instruments we have now, you could play in any key. We could play in E flat, we could play in A flat, we could play in B flat, we could play in A, we could play in B minor, we could play in any key, right? Long time we had to transpose to get it's Sparrow say um Queen of the Bands. You'll find that when you hear Sally plays, Sally might do that in E major. Californian do sing in E major, you know. So you have to know to be a arranger, you have to know the range of the instruments, and you have to know the song you're going and do what is the range of this song. The lower note in this song might have a B, you don't have a B. The lower note on the or this song for the tenor part might have a middle C, your tenor part might start from D. And that is what I'm talking about here. You know.
right. But so
So to be a arranger, you have
definitely
to know all these things, and that is
right.
not
Knowing
putting
the
that you have to know. your scales and all your chords and all your harmonies and all your two notes will blend because pan is a two stick playing. It I will play with 3 and 4 sticks, but it's a phenomenal two stick situation, you know. So I don't know what two notes to give the second pan, what two notes to give the guitar and all that, you know.
You know, Bradley used to talk about the texture of the music, and he would say that, in keeping with what you're saying there, the pan is played with 2 sticks, and the piano is played with 10 fingers. Um, how
Right.
do you
Yeah.
relate the instrument that is a pan? Do you think it's limiting you as an instrument to just when you have to play with 2 sticks, as opposed to a piano that is so much more versatile?
No, well, you see, the tenor, if you take the whole steel band situation, take your 10 fingers as a steel band with tenors, double tenor, second pan, guitar pan, cello, tenor bass, six bass, nine bass, right? Maybe that's something like almost near your, your 10 fingers, you know. So between that range of instruments, you understand, you make your music to suit where you're going on. And the piano is a what I should say, a vertical thing. You go like from left to right or right to left, and you use your fingers to suit, right? But when you listen to the orchestra that play from high to low, right? Is a With a matter of fact, a piano might be a horizontal. Horizontal is like that. A vertical might be so down from high to low, you know. And you hear all these harmonies and all these kind of things. And then you don't want to play um you have things like counter melody, counterpointal situations, um, chords split into like you want to play a ninth or you want to play a seventh chord, and you don't know how to blend all these notes, all these two stick situation to blend up all of these songs that you want to hear and still hear your melody, you know.
Right. So thank you for asking that question, Fareed, and comparing it to the piano. So just to clarify, because I am a pianist, even though we have 10
I too.
fingers, a pianist can actually play more than 10 notes at one time. Because
Thank you.
depending on the notes, you can play 2 notes with your thumb in either hand.
Mm-hmm.
You can play 2 notes with your fifth finger. Now it takes some skill and practice, but so technically the pianist is not limited to 10 notes at a time. It depends on what
Yeah.
the notes are
You can,
and the position of
and
the notes. But
yeah, right.
so okay, even if the pianist is playing with 2 sticks, they can only play 2 notes at a time. But what Dr. Goddard is talking about is with the full steel orchestra, you're getting the full texture of the
Right. Yeah.
of the
Mm-hmm.
sound and
Yeah.
different timbres between the different sections. The tenor pan sounds different from the guitar pan, from the cello pan, and so on. Um, so, Dr. Goddard,
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question that we asked our former guest, Mr. Beckles. And I wondered if you had
Mm-hmm.
thoughts about this. Um, in the panorama, of course, it's a competition and there are specific criteria with marks awarded for certain categories. I'm sure you're very
Mm-hmm.
familiar with that score sheet.
Yes,
Um,
yeah, very,
but
very. Yeah.
in this score sheet, there's no category or marks allotted for innovation or creativity. What is your opinion about that?
Well, I went through that too a lot, because if a judge find that what they hearing from you that they're not familiar with, they make suggestions to you to change your style or your thing, you know. And as a competition, if you want to win, some people feel that they have to listen to the judges too. to win the competition or to make good marks, right? I should say, right? But as far as its creation is concerned, right? Let's take when our whole art form, of calypso and pan and all that. It begins with thinking about judging, and artists don't really think about judging. Artists might go when you hear Kitchener sing Rama. Nobody never tell Rich Kitchener how to sing that. You know what I mean? Or what to put in Rama. A matter of fact, they never even produced his tune. He had to go and find a producer to produce him. And the arranger, which is Adi Koto, arranging music to suit his accompaniment with no judging. And we focus a lot on what the judges say and what the judges say and what all they do last night and all of that with the art form. And I always have although I arranging and I'm working with steel bands and thing in competition side, I might have a band, I had Charlie's Roots and I do all kind of hit tunes without anybody telling me they don't like change the chord you use in Rally around the West Indies. If you know what I mean, right? I'm coming
I know
from.
exactly what you're saying.
So,
I know exactly what you're saying.
right, the,
Mhm.
the, the whole situation with our culture, the whole situation with our culture is a free, whole kind of rootsy um, thing that a matter of fact, it reflects our society, how we is. And our society is not a judging society. Our society is a free country. We move about. People want to do everything. If Shadow want to sing, poverty is hell. How you want to say it, and how Bradley want to play Rebecca. It doesn't. You know. People. There's a rule of in the scoring. There's something to the ability to arrange a prelude of a song. A prelude means like an introduction and the verse and chorus, okay? And that people who have the idea that the verse and chorus should be accurate with whatever the singer sing, whatever the melody is, right? But Brady will still come, like Super Blue will sing, while jumping up in a band, right? And Brady play, badan badan da da da. He play three A's instead of a C and three A. Badan badan da da da. And Superman say that. Superman, while two A's, B flat A, you know what I mean? Now, he will still get points for creativity because he create a different sound into what Super Blue really sing, you know?
Yeah.
So this thing
I
about what the judges say and everybody will be excited when they see judges come to the panyard. And when the judges leave, the commentator rush to ask me, what the judges say? What the judges say? I say, I don't know why they come to judge the band. And when they get up, they write up some papers and things and they give them, you know, that is what I think about judge. I think our music and our creativity, our culture should be a freehold kind of situation where the art, the people in the arts, you can tell, is a different person.
I'm very happy to hear you say that, and I agree with you 100%. And I
Yeah.
don't think it's only in our culture. I think this is what I always say to younger musicians that I have been mentoring. I say to them, the artist's vision is beyond what
Yeah.
the audience can imagine. It is beyond. The audience might be
Yeah.
expecting something, but we are thinking and creating something new, different,
Mm-hmm.
what expresses how we feel about the music. And so,
Right.
for that reason, I believe that there should be marks specifically for creativity and innovation, because
Thank you.
otherwise,
Yes.
as you say,
Yes. Yes.
they're playing to score high in the panorama, and then no marks specifically
Yes.
allotted to creativity and innovation. Now, a particular judge might like it. I personally do. So if I hear it in the arrangement, I might give higher marks in the arrangement. But there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing in that description of the arrangement criteria that says we are rewarding innovation.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that maybe that
Well,
should be addressed?
that should be addressed here. That should be creativity is I think I think that does it in the mass. In the mass have a lot of creativity points. I think so. Right? Because you wouldn't know what Peter Minchell idea is to, until you see it on the stage. You know? But we live in the next thing about pan and competition and judging and all that. We live in a country here where everybody have a band. Everybody from a district will have a band. We don't. So
So,
so it
so talk about,
like
okay, so let's talk about that a little bit. Every district have a band. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Are you saying it's good
it's a
because
good thing.
they're
I
more,
think I think it's a good
okay,
thing. We
but
should have
what
bands in
about,
every district.
okay, but what about the
Ceylons.
people who say, okay, but what about the people who say, we've heard on this program, some band leaders will say, well, there's so many bands now that there's some players who are playing with multiple bands when Panorama comes around and they're not at our rehearsal. We have to share them with our bands.
Well, I don't agree with that. I don't
You
agree
don't
with that.
agree with, you
And
don't agree
whoever
with
come
what?
up with that they call that crack shotting. They crack shot because let's face it, a panorama tune takes a panorama arrangement. It takes 3 to almost 4 weeks to put that together with arrangement, right? And the people you really have to, for everybody to be accurate, you have to really drill that in, per se. You have to be drilling for hours for everybody to be accurate with. I mean, a crochet is a crochet. A crochet can't be a dotted crochet when it's not. So you let
Oh,
somebody making a mistake. You know what I mean?
yeah, well, I
You
can't
know?
imagine that a player today will play a dotted crotchet
Yeah.
as a crotchet. They might play a crotchet plus a demi-semi-quaver as a crotchet. In other
Right.
words, you're
Yeah.
saying the accuracy is not there. But okay, so what do you
Right.
say then to
So
those
and when
people?
when you're ready to drill your band, there are players who missing because they're going to play with X band. You know.
Mhm.
And what a point I want to make too. How accurate a person could be if he plays 7 bands.
And that is why sometimes when we hear bands at Panorama, they're not very accurate in the execution because everybody wasn't at
Right.
rehearsal. And
And
especially
and if you
if the
look at them, you see them
arranger,
looking at one another.
especially if the arranger decided in the last day, we're going to change this section. And that person
Right.
was
Right.
not there at the time.
Not there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the same thing
Yeah.
with choir, it's the same thing with orchestra. You need everybody there in order
You
to
need
achieve
everybody there.
accuracy and perfection. So
Um.
how do we,
Yeah.
you as a uh, you know a leader in this industry, how do you um, impress upon players you need to be here if this band is going to be accurate and do its best? We need everybody here at rehearsal.
Well, I from a band that had that objective. Sometimes I went in the band. You play with one band, and a matter of fact, I never even arranged for next band when I was in that band. Because you need all the time, all the effort, all the ideas. You can't be sharing. Music is something that when you're thinking about an arrangement for a panorama, which is it's only 8 minutes, yes. Especially some of the arrangers who are not writing no music or whatever. And they're arranging for 4 bands, 5 bands, 6 bands, and everything, right? And then the players now, they're going from band to band to play. So our band don't encourage that at all unless they're playing in a smaller band. I see this year some of our players playing in some of the small band. But there's a rule about between a medium band and our band. So if you're playing in the medium band and not to be playing in our band. Right? So that and what happened is you'll tell me it have plenty bands, but it don't have enough players. So you have to be going to play on 8 bands, you know. I mean, if a guy playing in Joey Lewis, he playing in Joey Lewis, He playing he's Joey Lewis saxophonist. He's playing there. If I playing in Charlie Jutes, I the keyboardist for Charlie Jutes. I'm not playing in Charlie Jutes and Song Revolution. If you understand what I mean.
Yeah, I understand
So
exactly
I
what
not
you're saying.
right. So I'm
But I
not doing
think
that.
that okay, but I think that this hits on a kind of another topic that is sort of endemic now, because I think you and I are from an older generation where we make a commitment. Let's say you're going to
Yeah.
arrange for this band, you're going to drill the band, or you're playing in the band, you're committed to it. You're committed to it.
Right.
But the younger generation, I'm talking about people in their 20s or younger, teenagers, they don't see anything wrong with it because their argument will be, I could do all of it and I could do it well. So why are you holding me back? If I want to play in 5 bands, why can't I do it? Now, the bands that
Well,
are in a stronger position, who, a big band with a name, could probably lay down the rule and say, if you're not here, you're
yeah.
not playing with us. But a
Right.
smaller band
Right.
will not be able to say that. They need that player, that skilled player, who could probably learn it in 2 days, could learn the part in 2 days. So I see the dilemma.
But
Every
it
band wants
have a
the
next
best players.
that is one dilemma. But it have
Yeah.
dilemma and Mirage. So that's the dilemma. And the Mirage now is that when you go to play in 4 bands or whatever, what name you carrying for these 4 bands? Because remember you're getting government check.
Uh-huh. I hadn't thought about that. Wow.
Oh. So it's guys who
Right.
crying, it have your uncle, your nana, your auntie, your sister, everybody. Just cry the ID. I mean, I shouldn't be saying it on the radio, but it's true.
Well,
Gentlemen,
why
let's
should
round
you
off. Let's
say?
round off in 2 minutes. We started late, so let's round off in 2 minutes.
So
So I was just saying, Mr. Dr. Goddard, you should be free to say whatever you want because you have
me,
been in
they will
this
knock me.
industry
They
for a
will
long
knock
time.
me. The people
You're
say,
very
"I
well.
hear you say something on the
No,
radio." That this and that and the other.
but
But
but at your age, do you really care? Do you really care what other people think? You
well,
just
yeah,
have to be honest because as an artist, you are saying what you think for the betterment of the industry,
right.
right? And if
So
people like you don't speak up,
that is a
nothing's
point.
going to change, right? I always say one of
That
the
is a
best
point.
things about I always say one of the best things about getting older is we care less and less about what other people think. Fareed, what about you? You're still young.
I'm still behind you all in that regard, but I hear you.
But
Dr. Goddard,
I only hope I can get.
I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for your time this afternoon. We raised some interesting points, We will invite you again as we always do. We see you as a senior voice
Oh my.
in the steel band world, and we appreciate what you bring to the table whenever we invite you. So we have to say thanks again. Um, it's wonderful hearing your voice and hearing the encyclopedia of knowledge that you bring and the incisive thinking. We need more of that in order to improve the product that is Panorama and to improve the product that the instrument produces. So thanks for your time. Thanks for the energy that you bring to the Panorama every year. Tran Tobago really appreciates you, and it's beyond that doctorate that was bestowed upon you. It's the person that you are, the way you express yourself, and the frankness with
Yeah.
which you say what you say.
Thank you
So
so much for
All right.
speaking with us, Dr.
Thank
Goddard. It
you.
was a great honor.
Okay, thank you. You're welcome.
enjoy the evening and enjoy the season. Thank you.
Right, thank yeah, you're welcome.